Hi all, thanks for joining in today. We'll just give everybody a few minutes as they're starting to join in, and we'll probably get started in about 2 minutes or so. Thanks guys for joining. Give us a minute or two and then we'll get started. Just waiting for a few more people to jump in. Just to note as well, for any of the questions, we'll be answering them at the end of the webinar. Please include those into the Q&A section. I know that there are both the chat and the Q&A, so if you could please put them in the Q&A. Once we finish up with the slide deck, we'll go through and answer any of the questions that we've got. Also for today's session as well, we have the first 20 partners to complete the entirety of the webinar will win an Uber voucher, and also for the most creative question throughout this, we'll also win a Jabra Elite headset. All right, awesome. I think we've got quite a few attendees jumping in now, so we'll get started. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining today's session. Today, we'll be running through artificial intelligence and how we've been able to help support and create this into the market. Before we get started into the webinar itself and the contents, just wanted to kind of mention that a lot of what we're seeing today from a partner perspective is that we're getting questions from partners saying, we're seeing emerging technology start to be leveraged in the market today, but it's quite difficult and hard for partners to start their journey without the necessary headcount, resources, or experience to be able to leverage this type of technology, and where do they get started? And really the goal for us today from Ingram, Schneider Electric, meldCX, and our associated vendors and partners is to provide you with a stepping stone of how to be able to leverage artificial intelligence and the end-to-end solutions that we've built in market to make it easier for you to scale and really start that journey into emerging technology. And today we'll be running through a variety of different use cases, again, around artificial intelligence and vision artificial intelligence specifically, just to give you an understanding of what can be completed, what has been completed, and how you'll be able to start to be able to leverage this in market today. Now, just to begin with, a bit of an introduction to our speakers today. Myself, for those of you who I haven't spoken to, I lead the IoT division here for Ingram Micro. 11 years experience within the distribution sector, within a variety of different roles, from technical to program management and management of technology as well. And really quite honored today to be able to run through some of this technology with you. Also, we have Thor, which I'll pass it over to do a quick introduction from Thor's side as well.
There you go. Thank you, Luke. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name is Thor. I'm from meldCX. Now, meldCX is short for Melding Customer Experience, and we particularly specialize on solving problems that requires a lot of stitching from different solutions, different software, hardware, on-prem, on cloud kind of components in most businesses that are aimed to solve epic business problems. Now, the way we solve it is we make it, simple for our customers to use, simple for our partners like you to deploy, and we make it secure to make sure that we protect your data and customer data. And today we're going to talk more about that and how we do it. But before we deep dive into it, I want to pass you to Rajesh for his intro.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. My name is Rajesh Tangaraj. I'm responsible for the Edge Solutions enablement in the Pacific region. So I cover the business segments, including channels, commercial, enterprise, and industrial. And I would like to today start with these questions. For a retailer, how bad is to lose a customer at the checkout because the POS machine lost the power? Maybe for a healthcare provider, how bad is not to have the right information when treating a patient in ICU because of the power failure or a security breach in the IT infrastructure? Schneider Electric, we offer human-centric energy automation and infrastructure solutions to address these challenges. Sorry for the delay. Luca will be sharing some of the great content and AI and applications later in the presentation. But before we get into this topic, I'd like to share some thoughts on current industry trends and how technologies like edge computing or hybrid cloud is empowering different industries and bringing these new opportunities, and how the new outcome-based business models are transforming the IT industry and accelerating this digital transformation. So I felt it is really important for us to address some of the common questions like you have or most of our customer ask, such as what is happening in the industry, what are we talking about, why are we talking about AI today, why are we talking about the hybrid by design this today, where do we focus as a business, how to prioritize and where to invest, whether we choose a CapEx model or OpEx model. So I believe like we could share some insight in the next 5 minutes to address some of these genuine questions. To start with industry trends. So you may be familiar with this Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, which is convergence of physical, digital, and biological worlds, which leverage the emerging and disruptive technologies such as IoT, AI, automation, blockchain, VR, AR, or mixed reality. So in industry terms or enterprise terms, generally this is called as digital transformation or digital trends. So I'd like to share the current digital trends we see around this digital transformation ecosystem. To start with, number one is the digital business. So the new business design, blurring this digital and the physical world, which bring this convergence. So the business moment is a transient opportunity, is which people, data, business, things, all work together dynamically to create a new value. So which lead the business to make informed decision-making or bring value out of the data. Number two, what we say is IoT and AI. So there is exponential growth in the connected devices today. We're talking about 1 million new devices will be sold every hour by end of this year. So I was working in the IoT for more than 10 years, and in 2018 I started focusing on AI. So I'm really fascinated to see how these technologies work together and complement each other, really brings this new value outcomes to the business. So when it comes to IoT, we see all kinds of things: simple, complex, dumb, intelligent, personal, sensor, customer-centric, static, mobile, wearables, and doing all kinds of things. Measurement and recording videos, talking to people, data producer actuators. Of course, it all comes with new challenges such as security, privacy, bandwidth, automation, and management. When it comes to AI is a concept in the industry over 50 years, and the potential of AI is realized today is because of the technological advancement. So 10 years ago, we had to write thousand lines of coding to define the visual models. But today we have systems and computing power to process visual images much faster. This accelerates the AI deployment. And the third trend we see is a hyper interactivity. So all these smart things interact unpredictably, but demand a real-time response. So for an example, in industrial IoT, less than 3 millisecond delay in processing in the premises could cause a fatal accident. And in the VR, AR applications, less than 7 millisecond delay would cause motion sickness and give very unpleasant experience to the user. And in autonomous driving, so very critical. So 300 milliseconds of delay would cause the autonomous vehicle to stop 30 feet away. That's pretty fatal. So the technology we have today, such as 5G and the edge and this hybrid model, can deliver these outcomes. And fourth, we see there's the immersion. The human machine gap is shrinking today. And in the enterprise, for example, there's a demand for real customer engagement, employee productivity, location experience. And in a consumer point of view, there's a demand for personalized experience, real-time interactions, and workforce, like the demand in flexible work environments, trainings, virtual team collaboration, like what we are doing. Really, the pandemic really accelerated this demand and really helping to many organizations to take this digital transformation much more seriously. In a nutshell, all these digital demands are realized by computing, not just computing. It demands a distributed computing, which is edge. So some of the key drivers in the digital trends pushing computing to the edge is the latency, bandwidth, security, and system autonomy. So as a business, the next question is, what is in for me? Where do I focus? We understand there is, there's all this digital trends happening, and specifically get into this edge computing. So where do we really focus? So I've really liked this graph. I hope you can see the graph. So there are three waves of edge opportunities in the market. The IDs are really put through. They did a lot of research and bring this chart. So the wave one is the transformational. So some of those new technologies, the emerging technologies, such as local cloud as a service, autonomous IT, container microservices, and the other one is incremental, such as like 4G to 5G and Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6, and some of the advancement in the SD-WAN or HCR. And opportunistic is the third wave, which is more of a customized solutions like micro data centers or PoE or edge collocations. So the interesting part of this graph is, for example, if a customer is deploying AI, so you need a camera. To connect cameras, you need networks. If the data is processed locally, you need an edge computing. The edge computing needs info like power and cooling. And if it's a multiple site deployment, which require backbone network like SD-WAN, so you still need a cloud and data lake to store, publish, enterprise-wide information. So even this is one application like AI or IoT, which brings like a multiple dimension of opportunities to you, a mixture of like maybe a transformational, incremental, and opportunistic ways. The question is, what are the opportunities I should prioritize, and what is the market adaptability of these technologies? It's very difficult to answer these questions. If you see in the chart, like some of the transformational technologies were very fast in adoption, like talking about 3 to 5 years, and the incremental is like you have 5 to 7 years, and opportunistic like go up to 10 years. It doesn't mean that you have to wait. It has to be a mixture. What we see is a mixture of all these three waves. And basically, it depends on your business and what kind of applications you are delivering. You're a customer, you're a partner, you are delivering those to the customer premises, so you can make a decision accordingly. The third question is, so what about the business model? Whether I could offer or adapt a CapEx model or OpEx model. So the traditional business model is a very product-centric and channel-centric, supplying customers with fixed products and services by business departments. So for example, edge computing is moving that collection and the compute of the data closer to the end user, which is enabling players in the space to provide outcomes instead of products and services. So we see more and more deals, we have larger deals signed with the enterprises, between the enterprises and the IT vendors. So the outcome-oriented thinking is not new. So with many business models adapting to provide choice to their customers, whether to buy, own, or operate or pay per use. For an example, an airline industry, if you take an airline, their primary business is to safely transport people from one place to another. But they're managing a jet engine is not their primary business. Their secondary business, and it's not a business even, like it's actually they have to do that right now for the operational purposes. So the outcome the airline industry today expecting is the jet engine as a service. So which is the aircraft propulsion system offered on power, by hour basis, like how much time they're using the jet engine, they're going to pay for it. Same case, from jet engine provider to any IT or maybe a retailer, for example, their primary business is to, it's to focus on their stores and, selling products. Their primary business is not actually an IT or managing their IT. So they actually outsource the secondary tasks actually to the third-party vendors. So digital is the backbone that connects and creates and drives this desired outcome that outcomes-oriented business look to access if they decide to move away from product ownership. And the last thing, like how this collaboration between Schneider, Ingram Micro, and meldCX helps business, our partners, or SIs. So the jointly built AI in a box solution means the fast time to market. So this is a validated solution. I've reduced your time, wasting on testing, interoperability, POCs, etc. So this means lower deployment cost and improve efficiency, and the flexible business model offering. And also, as a global player, we could actually help you in expanding your reach. Hope I have shed some lights on the industry trends and the collaboration. Now I would like to invite Luke to take you through some of the exciting contents on the AI and Todd to give a really an exciting demo. Over to you, Luke.
Thanks, Rajesh. Appreciate that. And appreciate the insights that you've been able to provide. So as we click through and give you a greater understanding of what we're providing today, I just wanted to start with, again, as you heard from Rajesh, that there's multiple types of technology that's required, and it's not just a product itself that you need when leveraging and looking at leveraging artificial intelligence, IoT, or emerging types of technology, that the end customer requires end-to-end solutions. And within Ingram, that's really what we're focusing on. You'll see it now, but as we continue through this webinar, but in future as well. Our focus is really around providing solutions that are curated, repeatable, and really solving the business problems. While yes, we do components and we do sell kits, the focus for IoT, AI, and emerging type of technology is really to provide you with that solution, to make it easy, to make it simple, so that again, if you don't have that required expertise, if you don't have the time, or you're wanting to start your journey through this, we're able to help support that. I guess just to also note on that as well, that for us, our focus industries are around retail, smart building, and industrial. Now, what we'll speak through today as well, we'll touch on some of these areas, but it is not limited to that. There's a variety of different verticals and market segments that can leverage this type of technology. All right, without further ado, we'll start getting into a bit of more of the deeper dive of the solution itself and how this has been built out. We'll start around some of the vision analytics and how this has been completed. Again, as we've spoken about, it's really ensuring that this is an end-to-end solution with not just the edge, not just the cloud, but everything in between. And just to show you, these are some of the vendors and the partnerships that we've built in order to be able to complete this and create this solution out to market. Again, providing everything that is required and best of breed. What I wanted to do was give you a bit of a snapshot around the journey and what this looks like and how it's been created. As you can see here, there's a number of different points on the screen, really being able to give you an understanding of how this has been done. And that very much, one, privacy, but two, ethics has been completed. That we've looked at this in how we can ensure that this is done in the best way possible from a privacy standpoint to ensure that no identifiable data is being compromised. That even, for example, on the screen here, where you'll see that there was a face that has been blurred out within the processing of that the individual has been created as a token, and that we don't just look at the face of the person, but we look at the complete behavior of that body language. If we're looking at falls within aged care facilities, if we're looking at the way that people move, but also, as you can see again within that tokenized person, that the objects that they're interacting with, if it might be a surface, if it might be the accessories that they have on them, or the apparel that they're wearing. By leveraging all of this type of data, we're able to start to build out a journey of what that person looks at, what that is for them, and what it means for the end customer themselves. The other point that I'd like to add on to this is that, again, when we speak about social awareness, ethics, privacy, and the policies that are enforced within this to ensure that it can be leveraged from both small end customers to large end customers, and we'll run through one scenario of a very large Australian bank that's leveraging this solution today. This has been built on synthetic data. So again, not leveraging existing CCTV footage, but actually being created in a game environment. And this allows for us to get higher accuracy, to be more cost effective, but also not to be able to work on not just standardized use cases, but custom complex use cases as well. And then the security aspect of that as well. As you can see again, that this has achieved PCI DSS level 1 as well. As we start to speak through some of the market opportunities and where we see the opportunity market for artificial intelligence, specifically around the solution that we're going to showcase to you today. While this had started in the retail aspect and looking at standardized use cases of entry monitoring or zone engagement, and something that you might see as quite standardized today or a quite standard need, this had really branched out from there and looking into a variety of different verticals, industries. If we take healthcare, for example, with slip and fall detection, with aggressive behavior, and then a range of different end customer requirements. Again, we've seen some of these and been asked for some of these today, how we can help to support them. And it's just to show you that, again, while we speak about this today, we'll be able to kind of really give you a snapshot of some of the aspects, but there'll always be use cases that we haven't been asked for today. And that, again, the solution, while can be leveraged for standardized use cases, we can customize this to effectively any requirement that the end customer does have. Now, with that, I will pass it over to Thor to give you a bit of a deeper dive in the customer journey and a bit of a demo of the solution as well.
Thanks, Luke. That's very insightful. Let me try and control it. Oops. Cool. So going back to the theme that we were talking earlier, meldCX has a lot of products and capabilities. And for today's session, we want to zoom into one of our products called Viana. Now, Viana is about leveraging cameras as a sensor. And it is really designed to help our customers to track their physical spaces like a website. Right? That's very important. So from a partner's perspective, our customer persona would be people that has car parks, people that has entrance, people that has shelves, people that basically sells products on the shelf, anyone that has physical stores. And chances are they have websites and mobile apps today. And what we're trying to do is to be able to create an equilibrium, an equal way of measuring their physical asset, physical store, to what they're doing on their website. However, before we kind of dive deep into what the solution can do, I want to emphasize that the cameras that we use, the stream that we get from it, and Luke have already started talking about it, we want to basically have security in place by design. So as you can see on the left, one of our colleague, Joy, kind of allowed us to use her character for this session. But normally we see Joy on that kind of left portrait on the slide. But the camera, we have put in an AI to anonymize that. And the only thing that the camera would see, even on the stream, is what you see on the center, which is a blurred face. And that's basically important because we're not using facial recognition, or we don't use facial matching, to what Luke mentioned earlier, that we are ethical, and we provide a sustainable way to grow the technology without crossing that line from your customer trust of data privacy. So instead of going through functional features today, we want to focus on how a journey would look like, on how we can track a particular customer that goes into one of your customers' physical space and what insights they get out of it so they can make better decisions. And we'll talk about this couple of jargons in there that might be difficult to digest straight away, but we want to zoom in straight away on just the story level, just so we can start to share stories, maybe invite your customer next time when we have sessions like this. So let's go into the journey. Give me one sec. Oops, there you go. So imagine a retail store, your electronics store, right? 250, 450 square meters. At the point of entry, you can see Joy getting into this sort of entrance. The camera would identify Joy as a female young adult. At this stage, the camera would associate Joy with a what we call the re-ID or re-identification ID, which you can see that on the red right there. And here we're just using standard camera, right? The good thing about it is that even with just that camera, we now know number of people going in and out. So you know density, you know occupancy. It's quite useful today during COVID. So the point of entry, you as or your customer can start understanding the traffic that goes in, top of the funnel pretty much. When they go in, depending on what store you're in, chances are they've got signage screens. Now, by the time Joy would kind of put her attention towards the screen, the camera would know based on the gaze tracking. So marketers for that particular physical store would know what kind of content that's actually working for their store, and therefore, you know, a retailer like for instance, for lack of better example, a JB Hi-Fi, for instance, they would carry 3,000 SKUs inside the store. And out of 3,000 SKUs, you might think, I only have a few screens that I could run in-store campaign. What content should I run? Should it be smart home? Should it be the new iPhone? Should it be the new Google phone? And you need some feedback, like how you do it on YouTube and Facebook on your website. So that's what we're trying to offer here, because we know how long Joy is watching the content. If Joy was just interested with some animation and you just look into it for 3 seconds, or Joy is actually watching the content until the end. Now the journey continues where every time there's a camera there, we could repurpose that and basically look into other behaviors, because the camera itself can track people, product, behaviors, literally what a human can see. We're trying to train the AI to see that, right? So by the time Joy gets into the product shelving, and there might be hero products that are showcased in different way, we can then start to see what Joy is basically looking at, what Joy interacting on the product. If she basically lifted an iPhone or a Google phone, we would know. And even by the time Joy starts to do search and compare, their products are quite complex. As you can see, there's a lot of smart home products now, smart speakers, smart lights, smart appliances. And often you as a retailer, your customers struggle to figure out, how do we design the planogram in which we are putting the right product right next to each other? Because gone are the days that if they go Google, they buy all Google. Right now, people are smart. They go online, they check the feedback, they check the star ratings. And based on that, they'll start to combine products based on what others are feeding them. So your customer's website alone is not enough. So it's important to understand which of the products on our shelves that are actually correlated to each other, so that, like a website, imagine an Amazon kind of environment where when you pick a product, you're actually putting the next product that is of interest of that person right next to it, and preventing that customer to say, pick one product and take 3 steps to find another product to compare. And then the experience. Here we've got Google Home. Other customers, especially, they've got bulky products where customer needs to engage, whether it's a car, a bed, a furniture. They want to see how customers are engaging. So it's very, very important to understand that what we're trying to do is create a different way to leverage value from an existing camera or a new camera. In the past, cameras is just used for surveillance. Today, we use the camera to basically extract more insights that not only is purposeful for security, but could help marketing basically win new campaigns and basically introduce new products in ways that was never done before. And then at the end, the last bit is the purchase. Now, you've probably seen Amazon Go in the US. It's almost similar to that one, but we're just not getting it to the level where you could just pick a product and walk away. Now, that there's a purpose to that, but I don't think all retailers can afford to do that. So what we're trying to provide is a step into that game where, yes, we're not doing the automated purchase right away, but we're still learning what my customers are doing. You still understand what are the products that they're browsing, but they did not actually purchase. What can I do differently? And more importantly, that information can then be ported into your web and mobile campaigns that then becomes a retargeting tool. So imagine that journey, the same framework, right? And we're trying to apply that into different types of personas, different types of customers that you're dealing with. So here you'd basically, I think, let me go back a bit. What I've shown you was retail. So this is the typical retail footprint. There's an entrance, there's a lot of shelves, there's an area where you could approach the staff, there's areas where you hang out, you discover new products. That's very useful for that. Occupancy, density, collaboration with staff. So really, really good. Next, your plant facility. Now, we're not tracking people here. Now we're tracking big prime mover trucks and trying to get cement or basically get asphalt from this big chute right here. But the same technology applies. It's just different use case. And that just shows the agility of the proposition that we have here for you to be able to go through your list of customers and say, if you are dealing with car parks, if you are dealing with trucks, vehicles, if you're dealing with product and you have a network already that has a camera, chances are you could be a good customer for this. And just figuring out the way then to find the right use case for your customer that they could start really early and fast. Next, service stations. As we all know, Tesla kind of brought a new kind of taste in the industry where there's a projection that most cars would be electric in the next 5 years or 10 years. So petrol stations, service stations are now trying to reinvent themselves and say, how do we basically remove the petrol station and how do we look into creating a different space for our customers so that we could adapt into this new normal? Now, for them, their research in the last 10 years has gone out the window because you can't use it now. And therefore, they need to find a way to track and observe what their customers are doing. So now they're looking at how much people are actually spending on site, what are the cars they're driving, but still at the same time doesn't really cross that data security bridge where we start trying to take faces. The idea is how can we service customers that would go and charge their car for 20 minutes and there's a retail area there that they could actually do their shopping, and how do they incentivize those things? Now, changing thousands and thousands of service stations is a very expensive task. So they want to know and they want to need data to make sure that they are doing it the right way. So it's very useful for transformation, but you can see the theme is the same. They've got cars, they've got car parks, they've got products on the shelf, and those are really, really good persona to identify some anchors of who could be the best customers for this solution. Next is, sorry, my I don't know what happened. Let me slowly click back again. We're almost there. So safer workplaces. Again, if you have a customer that are thinking, how do we go back to workplaces after the lockdown? The same applies, the same use cases applies. The framework is about who are people, like, entrance, exit, spaces, utilization, collaboration, which of the furnitures basically people are using. There's common areas. We can track how people are interacting with kind of boardroom tables. So we want to know the density, how they're using the boardroom. Are there only 2 people using a boardroom good for 25? So there's a lot of these things that could be repurposed based on the user journey that I've shared in relation to Joy. But then it always asks question, AI, it's a big thing. We've got hundreds of use cases that we could basically pitch to our customer. Based on our experience, what we've seen is that the best approach is we want to start simple and we want to start small, but then deliver it fast. A good example is people counting. Everyone needs people counting today. And instead of actually buying another camera, why not use an existing camera, existing network, and basically put the right infrastructure to support that and augment that to be able to do people counting. So when you start dealing with that, it allows you to mobilize really quick. And later I'll show you a demo of a customer that we've basically onboard really, really quick. And we hope that that story might inspire you. But before I deep dive into how simple and how we take complexity into simple, let me show you some of our complex and some of the epic problems that we're solving globally. Here is what we call a Samline. SAM stands for scan, analyze, and manifest. Now, here is a customer that they pump out 700 million chickens on tray every year. That goes to retailers, right? That goes to your supermarkets. So what we're doing is that we eliminate the human errors for checking if the actual packaging was right, the barcode was basically scanning, the price is correct, the branding is correct. And whilst you look into quickly that that might be an operational savings straight away, the reason behind that is far bigger. These guys, and even with the guidance of Schneider Electric and Ingram, these guys are trying to reduce their carbon footprint, because the reason for that is if out of 700 million trays of chicken goes to their customers, mostly 10% of that, millions of it, goes to waste. Why? Because someone have put the wrong sticker, someone has put the wrong barcode, and by the time a customer tries to scan it, it doesn't scan. Normally you just pass into a staff that almost straight away goes into the bin. So we're not just trying to provide feature, but we're trying to solve a bigger problem here, whilst at the same time giving the customer sort of quick benefit of getting the operational cost reduced and basically the wastage of food, pretty much. And we call that kind of farm to fork, because for this customer, we're helping the farms that raise the chicken, we're helping the plant that process the chicken, and we're helping even the logistics to distribute, and even until the product is on display, we're helping the retailers and supermarkets as well to do it in an efficient way to reduce their operating cost, but at the same time reduce the waste and better for the community. Now, I have a sort of quick demo just to show you where we'd normally start. And I mentioned earlier that we have customers that we're gonna have engaged, and we don't know them, we don't know the partner, and through Ingram and through Schneider, we've managed to actually service them really quick. Let me share you my screen. Give me one sec, and let's go through the journey really quick. Boom, boom. Bear with me. I'm just trying to share. So I hope you guys can see my screen. Now, this is one of our customer, Wayfair. They're a resort in New Zealand, and they've engaged us about, I think, a month ago, right? So we don't know them, we don't know the partner, and through Ingram, they were introduced to us. And the idea was, Thor, we've got a couple of thousand cars goes into our resort. We want to know how many of them goes up, and we want to know what type of cars that goes up there, and we want to know their plate numbers. And obviously then starts the journey. Within a week, we managed to pass in a proposal. Within a week, we managed to solve all the technical queries. Within a week, we managed to solve all the commercial components. And the idea was, how do we empower our partner in New Zealand, right? So the empowerment really comes in place where the New Zealand partners literally just basically download the file for the install. They download this onto the device that needs to run the software, and within just a single click and within 5 minutes, the installation is complete. Now, once the installation is complete, all the partner would then have to do is go to the site and configure the site and say, it's Cadrona, it's one of their big resort. And again, this is a proof of concept to begin with, and this is just to show how fast we could actually sell it. And you could configure the floor, and obviously this is not a floor because it's a big car park, so we're looking at the car park of the entire mountain. And then from there, you could actually configure it in a way, I'm just trying to get my screen up, configure it in a way that you could edit the floor plan, you could see sensors, you could see the sensors from the screen, you could drag it. So it's very simple. This is our partner doing it or even our customer doing it. So we don't need them to have another engineer or another AI person that specializes the whole thing. So that allows us to mobilize really quickly. And then once they deploy that, all they see really to monitor it is, here's the device that was deployed. Thank you for Ingram Micro for sponsoring and providing the device and the services basically to help them deploy it, install it. And the sensor is from Meraki. And then the application here, and this is how simple, this is the AI module for us. It's as simple as you click that and it gets installed at the edge device. So we want to offer it really, really simple. Once you've done that, it's now installed, the traffic measurement. All they have to do is look into the traffic management. And as simple as that, you get all the information for you. Normally, I do apologize. It normally happens like this. Let me just refresh that. Normally, it takes a lot of machine learning engineers to crunch this data, data scientists to crunch this data. And again, we're just showing the data sets. Let me then show some refresh quickly. Oof. This is embarrassing if this doesn't work. Well, bear with me, guys. Just a bit of refresh. So with the summary, you can see that the car park that we're looking at, 1,000 parking slots. Occupancy is 492. You see the duration, you see the entries, you see the exits. Now that might sound really basic, but if I drag you here and show you the manifest, these are all the cars that are going in and out. We get the plate numbers, we get the time, we get the direction. But then at the end, when we ask them, what is actually your ultimate goal? Their feedback was, Thor, it's the same thing what Schneider Electric's trying to do. They want to reduce their carbon footprint. So they want to try and identify who are the customers that are jumping into a bus instead of driving their petrol car up the mountain. And on top of that, now the next step is we want to identify electric cars so that they would incentivize people that basically use electric cars up in the mountain. So that's their very first step to basically getting into that carbon footprint reduction in the next few years. And now for us, it's a simple kind of step for us. It's a humble contribution to what they're doing. But I think that value proposition is important for us to showcase, to show, and that story might be helpful for you as you do a lot of conversation with your customers. And again, we don't have much time, but you can see there's a lot that we can do. There's product engagement, there's zone engagement, there's audience measurement, there's shelf engagement, post correlation even. But you can see even the chicken story, making sure that we track the chicken, that it's handled properly from farm to fork. Those are the complex one, but I urge you to reach out to us and basically find out a way that how can we offer your customers a way to start simple, start quick, and be able to prove value quickly, but then you still have the capability through us to be able to scale. I hope that's informative. Again, running out of time, but I just want to close it from that point. Thank you again for letting us share our story. Over to you, Luke.
Thanks, Thor. Appreciate that, and do love the demo. Always demo gods. Let me just continue to share my screen now. And again, I know we've got limited time. We just wanted to run through a few success stories. One of them being Stride Property Group in New Zealand. And again, this was quite similar in terms of the use case that Thor was showing in regards to traffic measurement. But again, slightly the use case being the same, but the outcome being slightly different. For them, it's wanting to understand the amount of people that are coming in and parking, how long they're being there, how long they're being into the shopping center for, and capturing more related insights into that use case. Again, from there, the end customer quite interested to say, this is just a proof of concept. We want to start here, but the ultimate goal is then to be able to look to leverage this, to be able to do people counting, to be able to mesh multiple layers of the artificial intelligence to get a full end-to-end picture of understanding the end customers, how long they're shopping for, where they're shopping, and the likes as well. And again, this is something that's live currently running in New Zealand at the moment. Now, again, I won't go through this one in much detail, but again, as you saw that Thor was running through, this is the live proof of concept that we're also running for Cardrona in New Zealand and a ski resort at that. I guess just to touch on, as I previously spoke about as well, and around the privacy and the ethics as well, one of Australia's top 4 leading banks is currently leveraging this solution as well. And from their point of view, it was to solve 2 major problems. One being in the branches and being able to firstly understand, as on a website, they understand based on who are clicking through, how long they're clicking through on the websites. But in a physical store, they don't have that type of information. And so again, with the solution that we've put forward here, one portion was for them to understand the people that were coming in, the age, the gender, the sentiment and the mood of the people coming into the branches. As an example, with the current COVID situation for them, it was the thought process was the majority of people coming into our branches were elderly over 85 because they weren't leveraging technology, when in fact it was the males between 20 to 35 predominantly doing home loan applications because they had to do them physically in store. And then the second portion for them around the content itself being digital signage on the screen, and their marketing team spending quite a considerable amount, having over 70 campaigns running at one single point in time. For them, it was to better understand, is this content effective? Are they leveraging it? Are they getting the best out of it? How long are they watching it for? And ultimately being able to gain a better return on investment by making changes to the campaigns that they were running. Again, just kind of wrapping up in regards to the solution, a bit of the architecture itself. Again, not going to spend a huge amount of time on this, but this is just for anybody techie, the solution architecture. Again, we've included the Meraki cameras here, Cisco HyperFlex as well, but this solution is agnostic. We can leverage Axis cameras, for example. Within the proof of concepts, we do leverage Intel NUCs as well. On the back end, this is working with Microsoft from an Azure standpoint, and Intel with OpenVINO as well. It's really just to show you that that end-to-end architecture is there, that it includes everything that is required for the end customer. Again, within the solution bundles, just to be able to showcase to you that we've created these pre-packaged, ready to go, making it easy and simple for yourselves as the reseller, but also for the end customer to make sure this is scalable and to be able to uptake this quite quickly. Anything from a small proof of concept with one single camera and an Intel NUC up to 100+ cameras. We've got these predefined based on what the end customer wants to achieve, and it's something that we can run through with yourselves and also jump on calls with the end customer as well. Just in regards to integrations, again, you've seen some of this in terms of the AI, but just to also kind of hone it back that the solution is API centric, that there is an ability to be even more scalable and more flexible. We've had end customers come in with unique scenarios about wanting to be able to integrate with sensors, IoT sensors, to be able to open doors, to look at access control, to look at a range of different scenarios. Even as simple as end customers saying, we just want email notifications. Well, then it might end up going to, well, hey, we've already got a ServiceNow integration in our backend, or we've got licenses on that. Is there a way for us to be able to integrate with ServiceNow? Yes, they can. Or something as an example with Twilio, if they've got cleaners on site for a shopping center as an example, and a spill happens and they need to be able to send somebody out urgently, they can leverage the Twilio integrations to be able to send an alert, a text message, an SMS directly to that cleaner to be able to go out there. And again, as Rajesh was saying, minimize that delay, ensuring that the things get done at the quickest time possible, depending on what that solution or what that use case is for the end customer. Just to wrap up, so we've got a little bit of time for questions. I really appreciate everybody's time today. Again, know that we can see that there are a few questions on here, so we'll take them after running through this. But again, we just wanted to wrap up and say that if there are opportunities, if there's something that you're interested about, do you see an end customer that you currently work with that might have a proof of concept in mind? Is it something that they want to explore? Feel free to get in touch with us. We're here to help support you with this type of technology. We understand it's not the simplest thing to begin and start that journey into artificial intelligence, into emerging technology. We've made this as simple and as easy as possible for yourselves as resellers, and for us to be able to support you on this journey, to be able to take it forward, and ultimately for us all to succeed. So with that, thank you very much from the slide deck point of view, and we'll jump into the questions. All right, awesome. Give me 1 second. Just bringing up some of the questions here now. I can see Billy has asked, as CCTV cameras are an important part in the solution, are there any key feature products you'd like to see from CCTV manufacturers to aid the AI market? Thor, are you happy to take that one quickly?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So at the moment, the CCTV market, obviously, there's a bigger transition that's happening from being just focused on security now to kind of a wider approach. So there's security kind of mindset now getting into the wider part of the business, and there's a different business analytics trying to get into the CCTV world. I think from, if I could ask manufacturers something, it's about collaboration, allowing us to update and augment the AI that they've got on the camera. I think that would have a significant impact moving forward.
Awesome, thanks, Thor. Rajesh, I see that there is a question there as well, if you're happy to kind of read through that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think there's two things over here. My point actually earlier is, so we have the computing power today, when it comes to processing actually the massive amount of data on premises. So we call it we can currently, if you talk about any large players, cloud players, they are building their cloud models on the edge today. So we have this computing power to even whatever actually the data is created by IoT or AI or any technology today. But of course, when it comes to the business model, the other thing is the business model. Because we need to really accelerate, a lot of the enterprises today wanted to accelerate the digital transformation. So building, traditionally, if you see any enterprises building an application, the data center, it takes time. Personally, I experienced that. I worked in enterprises for a long time, and it's really challenging for any solution owners or product owners to build anything within the data center. So how we can quickly deploy an application. So that's why I think the cloud really accelerate this process. But of course, you can now the cloud players also understand that. So they have not just having all the models on the cloud, because again, there's a lot of demands like the latency and security and the bandwidth issues. It's especially in Australia, bandwidth is expensive. So that's why they are now working with the IT vendors to bring that model towards the edge. So we have the quiet computing power today, and also there's collaborations and the service models. It's more of how we can accelerate this process. Having this a CapEx model which takes longer time, and the service models are outcome-based models which takes shorter time to quickly get into the market. So that's why I see that as an advantage. Of course, we work with we treat actually customers. We respect the customer decision, whatever it is, it's a CapEx model, OpEx model. But what we see in the industry, the large enterprise players are moving towards this OpEx model, or the outcome-based model, asset service model, because they wanted to really accelerate this digital transformation process within the organization.
Awesome, thanks, Rajesh. And I guess I'll just quickly add on to that as well. In regards to the as a service model, again, we do get quite a few questions in regards to the solution and how this can be provided as CapEx as well. Just to note, obviously with Ingram Micro, our financial solutions and financial services can provide not just any of the technology that we provide, but even external technology of third parties to bring that all together and then provide that either to yourselves as a reseller or even down to the end customer to be provided as a service as well. So it's something that we have been asked questions around, and great to hear that it has come up as well, but definitely something that we can provide.
Yeah, I'll quickly jump on an example. So, while I was working for the largest retailer, So we have deployed this AI solution, to for the slip, trip, and fall to identify any particles on the floor. So we use a CCTV camera. So while we initially started this process with deploying on the cloud, and the processing and everything takes almost 160 seconds just for 2 or 3 cameras to take the data to the cloud and processing it, get that information back, and doesn't meet the business timeline, our ETA. So that's what we have, introduced the Edge. So which actually gives an instant, outcome, to instant processing in a real time, nearly real time, and able to deliver that messaging to the managers over there to go and claim that in a particular area, so water spill or maybe something is broken. So that's why I find but if we have the same computing power, whatever actually we can do on the cloud, we realize that we can do the same computing, we can have the same storage, same processor actually in the local premises as well. And of course, end of the day, it's not cloud versus edge computing. You need to have the hybrid model, because edge is going to be on premises, and an enterprise, you have multiple sites. You still need actually the data to be transferred to the cloud, and having this enterprise view for the decision makers, and still have to store the data on the data lakes for future modeling. So I think we see that today the market is ready, the technology is ready, and there's a real demand.
Awesome, thanks, Rajesh. Thor, there is one question just in regards, and I will just read that out. Does the analytics shift to the cloud affect the meldCX solution, or can the Viana software operate in a cloud VM container?
Thanks for that question, Alexander. I think that's basically the kind of segment and the type of customers we're helping. We see that there's a transition happening right now. So Viana supports Edge, supports hybrid, and supports cloud only. And by default, Viana is operating within Azure, so we could basically run it on traditional approach. It could be a VMware or containerized. But there are, to what Rajesh is sharing, there are use cases that requires instant reaction, like slip and fall, theft detection. And if you need instant reaction and you need real time, you need to have the edge compute. You need to have the edge compute to basically get the reaction that you need. However, if you just want to do people counting and you'd watch you watch that weekly or daily or after 4 hours, then you could process that in the cloud. But then again, it just depends on what is the current setup. If you don't have much internet connection, like Wayfair, for instance, that kind of area that you've seen in the resort, they're running on 4G, and on 4G you pay $32 per gig. And if you stream everything on to the cloud, it becomes expensive. So what we've been doing is we take the stream of video, we convert that into insights, and then just checks are basically funneled to the web, so to make it cost effective for them to operate something like that. But yeah, use cases then dictates what solution that we could put forward. And from our solution side of things, we make it as agile as possible so we could support the different topologies that they want to do.
Awesome, thanks, Thor. Renato, I know you had a question in regards to Ingram Micro distribution, so I'll flick you a note about that one as well. Not a problem at all. Look, I think that's all that we've got time for today as well. Really appreciate everybody jumping on. Again, feel free to reach out at any point in time if you've got any questions, if you want any further information, or you'd like to run through any customer use case or potential that you're looking for. Again, we're all here to help and support within this solution, and really appreciate everybody's time. We'll also flick through a separate email note on who has won the headset as well, and get back to everybody in regards to the vouchers. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks, Thor. Thanks, Rajesh.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Thor. Thanks, everyone.